What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Nathan, and on this planet we send it. And what we're going to be getting in today, well, we're going to be installing DIY Metalcloak's aluminum fenders for my cousin's JL. And I could be up front, you're going to see a little difference of me in the video compared to how I'm looking today. That's because I recorded these like 7-8 months ago, the end of the last year, and so I'm looking a little bit different than I was then. So that's why you're going to see a little bit of the difference here. But the plan for this video is my cousins let me know that there wasn't much instructions out there, whether on YouTube, and the instructions themselves were a little less to be desired. And I'll be honest, I am a Metalcloak fan. I think it's a great company, but in this instance, the instructions could have been a lot better, and that's why we're doing this video. So the purpose of this video is for you guys to see the trials and tribulations on a step-by-step basis. For anyone else out there trying to do this DIY too, this video is going to be for you. All right, I got a plan in place. Risks are acceptable. Let's go ahead and send it. All right, cousin, so let us know, what kind of Jeep do you have, and then why are you upgrading your fenders?
Well, this is a 2018 JL, and the reason why I'm upgrading to stock Rubicon fenders is because the Metalcloak fenders are higher clearance, narrower, and it's going to allow the articulations that I'm going to be using in the future when I get that put on.
Okay, so are you planning to upgrade your axles then?
That's a definite positive. We just haven't decided what axle we're going to use.
And these are the fenders we're going to be replacing the stocks with. We got the fasteners, we got the brackets, we even got the LED lights for the front. And these were just received from yesterday from powder coating. These were the originally bare aluminum, and now they're looking real nice and shiny. Picking it up with just your pinky. Those are pretty light.
I'd like to thank Metalcloak for their excellent customer support, giving me a call, letting me know that the stuff's being shipped, processing, answering my little questions that were big to me and maybe little to them, but they were awesome. Also, my powder coater, Bubba's Powder Coating here out in Desert Hot Springs, California, did an awesome job. You know, black, you know, is a kind of an easy color to match, except there's like 100 different variances, and they picked out one of the chart colors that absolutely matches my Jeep. And so I'd like to put a special thanks out to Bubba's Powder Coating.
Once we had the parts all laid out, ensuring that we had all the parts that we needed and nothing was missing, we went ahead and began with the install. First step was to go ahead and remove the under fenders here. I imagine some of you out there probably have every tool for every situation. Well, that's not the case for us. This is us making do with what we got, trying to get this fender off. All right, so we just removed or loosened up the 8 fender fasteners here around the edge. Some of them we pulled completely out, some of them were able to stay in there no problem. All right, now we're moving on to the inner fender, where we're now going to remove these 4 inner fender fasteners right there. 2, 3, and then 4. And we know we don't have the right tool for this, but this is sort of the next best thing. We are unable to find the correct tool in order to remove these without breaking them, but fortunately this is what we got.
So what I'm going to do next is remove these 1, 2, and 3 bolts.
All right, so my cousins are going to point out which one we need to, the 10 millimeter, and which one we're going to need the 8 millimeter. So that's the 10 millimeter, that's the 10 millimeter, and then back there is an 8 millimeter. There's an extra clip back there.
There's a clip right here.
Okay.
My finger's at. And there's a clip right here. So 2 clips right here.
Gotcha.
And that'll be the whole inner fender.
All right. So we're going to remove this, what's that?
Little red clip.
Yeah, removing the red clip and then taking the wire and harness off.
Yeah, you might have to.
There it goes.
Pull the clip back and squeeze. The only thing we should have left is the bolt right here where my finger's at.
Yep, 1 bolt there.
And then 1 bolt there.
1 bolt there. So 2 more bolts and we should be able to take this fender off, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Yep, let's do it. Just see these clips that we're keeping in there, okay?
And then you want to put it back on, these just slide out and you can replace them.
All right. So it came off pretty easy. You can see we got it all cleaned out. We got the upper and inner fender removed. Got the inner fender here. One of the reasons why we also wanted to do this video for you guys is because, or at least for the Metalcloak fenders, there's not really good instructions out there to show you how you put on the Metalcloak fender and then how you cut this. So that's actually going to be a little bit of a learning experience for us, and again, something we're going to highlight to at least give you guys an option, or at least, you know, an initial plan to deviate based on how well it goes for us or how well it doesn't. All right, so we wanted to do a quantitative test here and see how much these weigh. Now let's go ahead and weigh these out. All right, so
It's 9.3 pounds.
9.3 pounds. Let's go ahead and put the aluminum on. Now the aluminum is 8.7.
Looks like we're shedding some weight.
Just a little bit. Well, then let's add on, let's throw the, well, it's probably about equal then when you add the bracket and the light. Yeah, it's probably about equal then. So we're doing a quick test fit just to make sure everything lines up. We have concerns. We have the Rock Slide Engineering rock slider that is already using the same bolt down there. We're just looking to test fit it, make sure it all fits. Plus at the same time we're identifying which bolts we're going to have to drill out to 3/8. All right, so now we're going to go ahead, now that we fitted that out, we're going to go ahead and do a test fit of the bracket. Now, cousin, what's this bracket for?
This is the Fender support bracket that ties in the top of the fender to the bottom of your frame that runs along here. That way, if you need to stand on it and or you decide to put your fender up against something, you have more support.
Okay.
And it just goes up right there. And you just line up the holes and you screw the bolts in. Then you mark the bottom and drill your holes for your bolts on the bottom.
All right. All right, cousin, so you're getting ready to drill these out to how big?
3/8.
3/8, you're going to step it open. So which ones?
Well, all these holes will be sized up to 3/8.
Okay.
I'm just starting with the 4 holes for my bracket.
All right. Looks like we're only really going up just one.
Yeah, we're going
one
from
size, right?
From around 5/16 to 3/8.
5/16 to 3/8, got it.
And since the fender is nice and aluminum, it should be a quick drill. And if you have any doubts about what holes you're supposed to do on the bracket,
Always good to double check.
put the bracket back in, you'll see your 2 holes, and you can continue drilling. On these holes right here, this is aluminum frame, fender, aluminum body. So go very slow, and if you get really nervous, use some kind of lubricant. Take it nice and easy, and it'll be drilled right on in.
That was pretty easy. All right, so since we got these powder coated, what we just finished doing was probably better to have a thread chaser, but we used the tap to go ahead and chase the threads, and now we're just testing it out with the bolt to make sure they're all cleaned out.
So next step we're going to do is insert the bracket, and as you can tell, the curve side right there always goes towards the back. It follows this curve right here. This indentation goes right here for the bracket.
Yeah.
So just sliding it in, put in a little bit of an angle, go around it, and your holes will line right up. Go ahead and insert the 4 bolts. And you don't need to tighten these down. Just get everything lined up so you can drill the bottom holes into the frame.
It definitely helps since we sort of thread chased with the tap to make those ready for the bolts after the powder coating. Now, to give you an idea of what we're going to be drilling into the frame here, we got this one, this one, this one, and you can see this is how it sort of ties into the frame right there via that body mount. So we're now getting to probably the most technical aspect of the install here, these grab handles. Cousin, what would you say the difficulties are for this installation?
Definitely a 10.
Definitely a 10, okay. So you have to be extremely experienced to be able to master these qualities and these techniques to go ahead and install this. It does involve a highly technical swing over the top and, you know, place these straps through. Now, I think the most technique is definitely in the tightening of the straps. And once you get that down, the rest goes pretty easy, but as you can see, that was extremely difficult. Cousin, do you need a water after doing that installation?
You know what? One thing I can tell all your viewers is I'd recommend skinny fingers.
Skinny finger, okay.
Okay. For a top-on installation, definitely skinny fingers.
Skinny fingers, got it. As my cousin sort of sets up to go ahead and tighten these rivet nuts in there or whatever they're called, I just want to let you guys know that to do these 3 bolts, I mean, you're having to drill into some super hardened steel, and this has taken us probably about 30-40 minutes to get to this point of drilling them in. So if you get to here, a couple of recommendations: definitely make sure you got a good set of metal drill bits, and it might have even been easier if we took off the front wheel. But besides that, yeah, I just want to let you know that this could be a long part if you don't got a long part of the process if you don't got the right tools. And when it's all said and done, you got 1, 2, and 3. So what we've done off camera is we have drilled out the remaining holes that we needed to open up to 3/8. You can see those are the ones we had previously done. And then over here. So now it's just time to go ahead and put on the fender. So cousin, are we putting in the bolts that go into that bracket right now, just to make sure everything lines up with the bracket?
Yeah. That would be a yes.
You having to take that off and able to put a bolt back there? A nut back there?
Well, nothing's falling down in a little crack. So I'm losing washers.
Oh, awesome.
So I thought it might be a good idea just to retrieve them since I'm losing so many of them.
Cousin, what are your thoughts on like the bolts?
They don't give you any direction really what goes where. This is all a guessing game right now. These see instructions online. I mean, should be pretty easy to figure it out, but we'll know if we have it right when...
If we don't run out of the bolts.
If all the bolts it's gonna be used up.
Nice. Or maybe not nice.
It seems like there's 2 sets, a big set and a small set, and it looks like the small set's used for the to attach the fenders from the old brackets to the new brackets.
Gotcha.
And by doing so, if you do the big bolts first, little holes will line up better as everything starts to conform.
That's a good tidbit.
And don't be afraid to tweak the metal.
There has been a little bit of finessing required, that's for sure. Those are definitely pretty stiff. So we got them all on there, and just to give you guys an idea, these are Nitto 37s. So it looks like we are, what is that, about 5 3/4 of clearance over here. Let's check out the other side. And it looks like we're about 5 3/8. So we gained about 1/4 of an inch. Wanted to give you sort of a side-by-side comparison. You can see how you got the angle here. Looks pretty aggressive, kind of mean. Then you come on over here to the stock one, you know, it's pretty symmetrical, just straight down. Definitely improvement, and the powder coating is shiny as the paint is too. Yeah, I just want to kind of highlight though, but since it kind of comes in here and, you know, the hit point is going to be somewhere around here, since you're hidden in the middle of the tire is actually going to have to go up a lot further in articulation in order to hit that, compared to if we come on over again and take a look at how this just going right up to here. Let me get out of the sun. Going from here to here will be a lot shorter of a distance. So although we try to do a somewhat linear comparison, really you got to look at more of the dynamic clearance to really get a good feel for how much more you're going to gain. And the last thing I want to show as far as the comparison is take a look at where the fender hits next to the sort of sidewall right here, and then take a look at where this hits right here. You can see it's actually just slightly higher than this line. So let me go ahead and bring you back around and show you just again what it looks like, just so you got a reference of the stock compared to the reference of the new Metalcloak fenders. All right, because now that you've had a second to take a look at it, what's the plan as far as how you're going to make your cut?
So looking at the way the bolt holes, these two bolt holes can go up to where we already have existing bolts in the new fenders.
Okay.
I have an existing hole back here that the fender clips to itself to hold the front end. And then we're going to be leaving this lip that comes up to here. And that should carry us all the way to at least right here, which would be the easy part. The hard part is this opening right here. This is a bigger opening, and the old fender wells, as you can follow this cord, this is where the old one goes. The tricky part is going to be able to get this section here filled in to protect all the wiring and everything else in the back.
All right, so where do you plan on cutting on the plastic then?
So the plastic we're going to be cutting here to here, and then I'm hoping that I can actually cut slits down to here and be able to get this to bend to kind of start filling this part in.
Gotcha.
And we'll try that, and if it works, great. If it doesn't,
well, now other people will learn from us.
Yeah.
And I will kind of highlight as my cousin's cutting here, we're probably at about the 3-hour mark. Granted, it's been middle of the 90s out here in the desert, so we've been taking breaks, but still kind of planned for a while. The other thing that has slowed us down is we've kind of been using the tools we had on hand, not necessarily the tools meant for the job. So just to be in mind, if you got all the right tools, it'll probably be faster. If not, and you're like us, expect to plan a good amount of time if you plan to do it DIY. All right, so I want to highlight where we did the cut here. So this is all sort of natural, but where we started to begin the cut is right here. You can see we took this little loop, we went around these two holes, straight as we could, back around this area, and then we just took it straight on down. And as a matter of fact, you'll see when we get here, we drilled this out. So that's so we could use one of the original plastic clips to go ahead and fasten this down. Now this isn't a 100% solution. Once we get it on, I'll explain why, and then I'll talk about how we're gonna fix it on another day, but not necessarily today. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it's in there. So you can see you have the gap right over here, but based on where the wheel is, it's very difficult for a rock to necessarily take a direct shot on the way into the engine compartment. So in that regards, it's pretty good.
There we go. There we go. I might think it goes just like that. Yep, it does.
Probably put the rubber garment in first and then put the light through.
Good thinking.
I come up with good ideas occasionally. Blue moons, blood moons, you know.
That's exactly how you're supposed to do it.
And at least that, they make it pretty straight up, self-explanatory. Just screw it in. You're a beautiful dog, Natasha. You're a beautiful dog. Do that again. How's it feel?
Feels pretty good. Stout, not moving. Not bad at all.
All right.
For temporary, not bad.
Let's take a look and see how the blinkers look compared to the stock. All right, got that blinker. Let's go to the other one now. Sick. Turn it off now. It's a pretty cool color change. It goes from daylight LED to yellow. Turn them on again. That's pretty sick.
I'd also like to thank my brother Ryan, who went and did all the work while I supervised from a chair. Thank you, Ryan, and the finished product looks excellent.
Yeah, you guys seen Ryan helping me out on quite a few of my Jeeps builds too, so thank you again, cousin, for all the help you've done for me in the past. All right, so now we're moving on to the rear, and it looks like at least the first few initial steps are the same. You got to kind of remove these little clips and everything from the outside, and we got a few more on the inside too. So we'll go ahead and take those off and then come back to you once they're removed. So now we got into the rear one and everything's out and sort of setting down, but we're kind of jumping a step here. We're identifying where to go ahead and cut the fender just to kind of speed up time. Because you want to explain what you're thinking here?
So on the inner fenders right here, I'm thinking since we have these tabs right here and right here, I will be cutting along this line here, leaving those tabs all the way around, and that way we still get the stock inner liner inside.
Okay.
And therefore protecting everything that's right here from rocks.
So you're thinking about going right here and then kind of in front?
Nope, we're gonna go right here, and then I'm gonna actually go right behind this little tab.
Oh, right, okay. So then that way we can use the holes that are right there.
Correct, and then this little tab right here is gonna go behind here.
Okay.
Click in.
And then you just screw them in.
And then we're good.
Okay. So one of the things we kind of ran into is the instructions really didn't talk about how you got this stock bumper, the plastic one, it's actually getting in the way of the fender installation. So we're right now dealing with trying to have it removed. Well, after a few extra bolts later, we were able to remove that section of the bumper, and it's probably about time to replace the bumper anyways, as we knew, because we had hit the rear and had the bracket break right there. Just the bumper. And here we go. So we were finally, after getting a few extra bolts off, we were able to get this piece removed. So now we're going to move on to doing some trimming and then setting up the bracket. Or I don't think there's a bracket, setting up to install the fender. So we want to kind of highlight something when you're putting in these rivet bolts here. It was going pretty hard at first, but then it seemed like it kind of warmed up. We went a little too far, made the hole too big. So definitely take your time when you're putting these in. So what was the final hole you had to step that out to? Size?
9/16.
9/16. Got it. All right, so with the exception of where we drilled too far in the hole, we got all the rivet bolts in there, the rivet nuts rather, and got them all the way in. So now we're going to go ahead and set up the fender, just double check where the other 3/8 bolts need to go, and then we're going to drill them out and then bolt this thing up. It should be just another minute left, so we'll be back to you then when we got that set up. By this point, I actually had to drive back to San Diego and I just let my family use my cameras, and they finished it up and took it out on a little test drive that I'll show you here in just a couple of clips later.
As you can see, we got the actual rear fender on. All the bolts and everything are actually bolted in place. You can see under there, we have all the bolts in place. When putting the rear fender on, I would suggest making sure that the hole that this long screw goes into, you can see that's a pretty long screw, and as you can see, it actually goes to the front all the way through. There is a rivet you put in here that screws in. You're going to want to make sure this is nice and straight when putting it in, or else you will mess up the threads, as I've learned on this installing this side. Looking at the Jeep from a hole, you can actually see we got the front fender on. That inner wheel well is in, and actually it's going to do a lot of protecting, but that is only temporary, because when we get the new suspension installed, we will have to have different inner fenders already. Put us an overview. I like the fenders. They look good. They definitely make the tires pop out more, so when you're going into canyons, you can actually, if you have to, your tires will rub first before hitting your fenders, and it should give us a lot more articulation in the rear end.
And as I said, I let my cousins use my camera and they took it out to the mud, or at least took the Jeep out to the mud. But I'm glad they did, because it's given me an opportunity to show you that the inner fender here is not perfect, but it is, as you look back there, doing a pretty decent job on keeping the mud out of the engine compartment.
And so here, I had a rubbing problem before we put the Metalcloak fenders on. Well, actually it looks like it was the inner fenders, because if you notice right here I'm touching, so a little bit of modification to be done there.
And although my cousin isn't narrating this part of it, I think what he's trying to highlight is with his 37s back here, he's showing you how there's no rubbing, as you can see by no mud being rubbed off. All right, that's going to go ahead and wrap up this video. And now, for those who've been with my channel for a little bit, you've seen my cousin on many videos over this last few months since he's had those installed, and he's going to be on many more. And as a matter of fact, my cousin just got back from the Rubicon, and out of all the riding that he's been doing with them, he's had no problems, no issues to report with the Fenders themselves. His only comment really is whether you need to make a conscious decision on whether to spray paint or, you know, some regular form of painting, or to powder coat him, because he said since he went powder coating, he's definitely, dings are going to be inevitable, so rocks flinging up, etc. So if you get him powder coated, you got to bring him back in and just get him completely redone if you go that route. They absolutely look great, but if you're okay with maintaining dings for a long time, then, you know, maybe powder coating will be good for you, or you got a budget just to keep redoing it. But that's really been his only comment. The Fenders have been doing really good. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.